To me, enough is enough. They just wanna hurt us, bring us down, bring us down. Enough is enough. We won't let them hurt us, bring us down, bring us down. Enough is enough. You won't bring us down. Bring us down. Enough is enough.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Indie Wrestling Corner with another episode of Under the Ropes. I'm your host as always, the queen of the indies, Tiffany. And today I got my good friend Landon Hale. How are ya?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so excited that we can make this interview happen. So thank you for coming on here and chatting with me a little bit.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm very thankful to be on, especially this is my, I guess second podcast since coming up to the north. So this is nice.
Yeah, I'm so glad. So, guys, if you're new here to the Under Rope series, here I interview everything independent wrestling, whether it's wrestlers, promoters, referees, backstage. I got you covered. Make sure you hit the like button, the share button. If you guys got questions for Landon, and please drop them into the chat. I'm sure he'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions. So, what is going on? Good cop, bad cop, what's going on? He goes, did Landon just tell the British listeners to fuck off with that hand gesture?
Oh,
Damn.
I do this all the time with my friends here. I didn't realize that was a British gesture. I won't do it anymore. I'm sorry.
I love good cop, bad cop.
Is that like the bird, like where you flip the bird in America? Is that what it is? Oh, I feel bad now.
No. He's only teasing. He's only messing around. He loves to mess around with all my guests on the
Okay.
podcast. I love it. All right. So we finally got to meet a couple weeks ago at Chaotic, finally, which was so awesome. So now, like, as I tell everybody when it comes to the podcast, I like bringing on people that I know. Most of the time, I hope that I meet them before I bring them onto the podcast. So, but yeah, so we finally got to meet. But I like to do this onto the podcast is I like to go back to basics before we could start digging into everything, so we could talk about Chaotic a little bit later. So let's go back to basics and let's learn about you and how you got into professional wrestling.
Sounds good. Okay, so it's a little bit of a story. So when I was 5, I think I got into wrestling when I was 5 years old. And so it was one of the things that me and my dad, that's the one thing that we watched growing up. So like with basketball, with video games, with everything like that, wrestling was the one thing that we were so very, I guess, like strongly like just bonding over. Mm-hmm. And my dad passed away when I was 7. So I watched that for like a couple of years. And I remember it was just like one of those moments where it's like, okay, like, you know, life happens. I was like in the 1st grade when he passed. So I didn't watch any wrestling during that time. And then I guess when I was, like 3rd or 4th grade, I just remember seeing an advertisement for WrestleMania 20. And I remember like back when Saturday Night Velocity and Sunday Night Heat was the thing, I remember seeing Rey Mysterio in a Fatal 4-Way. And I was like, wait a minute, I remember that guy from somewhere. And then like it clicked that it was like, oh shit, this was, you know, this is Rey Mysterio. This is a guy that, you know, I grew up watching. And I fell back into wrestling again. And then I started watching WWE. TNA came along as well. And so all of that came along and I started getting back into wrestling, and I was like on and off for like so many years. And then I'm from a part of Kentucky where it's not like the indie scenes isn't as popular. So like you go to the South, there's a lot of wrestling in Georgia and Florida and the Carolinas. In the Northeast, you have New Jersey, New York, New England, everywhere there's a hotbed. But whenever we went to, so like if you go to anywhere Eastern Kentucky, it's it's dead. Like if you do it, it's kind of like I wouldn't say like you're a joke, but it's just kind of like there's better things to do than to go to a wrestling show. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna talk to this guy. See, it's one of my buddies because he made I think this was like 2000. I would say it was actually, yeah, this is June. So I guess like 4 years ago, he made a post on Facebook and it was like compare two wrestlers, and I was like, okay, so I just typed whatever whatever wrestlers I said, and then he was like, okay. He said it, and then I just kept, asking him more questions, and I'm like, you know what? I have one life to live. Let's see where this takes me. So I shot him a message, and I was like, hey, where do I train? Where do I get, where do I start? And then he was telling me to meet him at one of his friend's house, which ended up being my friend as well. And unfortunately, he passed away last year. But we ended up going to his house, and he had a ring set up in his backyard. Never taken a back bump in my entire life. I've never taken any lessons, drills, anything like that. So I ended up going to his backyard. The ring was set up, and I took my first ever back bump. And yes, I was sore as hell, but it felt amazing. And I was like, I feel like I'm home. Like I feel alive. And I had, I would wrestle in that ring as if I was wrestling. Like, how like when kids are little and they like wrestle around like with their dolls or with their animals or whatever, pretending like, they're these superstars that they actually look up to. And I just felt like I was a kid in my bedroom just tossing people around. And my buddies were like, you're not trained, are you? I'm like, no, not even close. And then so I guess, they told me that, in order to wrestle in Kentucky, you have to have a license.
Oh, wow.
And so I got my license, and I went to I guess this would be my second show. The first one was back like my senior year of high school, but the second show that I went to, first one being licensed, I was hoping to get on. Things didn't work out, and I didn't get the chance to wrestle. And I guess at that point, I didn't realize that there's like different steps in order to get into the wrestling business. Like you have to start from like the bottom tier of like help setting up, tearing down, tickets, concessions, whatever. Like you have to like build your way up. And I was at that moment, I was like, oh man, like I was in tears. Like I was just devastated. Like I wanted that shot. And then my buddy was telling me to go train under a guy by the name of Mike Sampson, which he goes by Iron Cross. And he used to he used to wrestle back in like the WWF days, but he was more of like a jobber. But he's such a good mind to pick at because he knows a lot of old school to making sure that everyone has their basics of the psychology down. Mm-hmm. So I trained under him. It was like August. It was like the first week of August or something like that. And I had 2 training sessions under him, and he taught me the basics of like the hip tosses, the arm drags, and the lockups, everything. And after only 2 training sessions, I think it was like the next 2 weeks later, something like that, the promoter or the promotion was having a tournament qualifier for the vacant heavyweight championship there. And I wanted to wrestle, but the promoter was like, okay, well, we need a ref. You're only fresh. We may need you just to be a ref. Obviously kind of upset about it. I was like, all right, whatever. So then two of the wrestlers that was there, JT Walker and Eric Porter, and the reason I say them is because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have gotten my foot in the door. So when I talked to them, they were like, hey, like what's going on? I explained to them the situation. They're like, well, the ring's set up. Let's go see what you got. I got in the ring. I did everything. And they were like, you need to be put in this tournament. So only after 2 days worth of training, I had my first wrestling match. And it was awesome. And I won my first match, but then lost the second round. Then I guess the next show I won a Royal Rumble, and then the following show, my third match ever, I had the chance to fight for the I guess it was like the BCW Heavyweight Championship. Mm-hmm. And then unfortunately I lost, which the reason I lost was because I went down to Georgia for school. So while I was down there for school, I trained under Robert Gibson, which there's other schools like the Nightmare Factory. There's WWA 4 ran by AR Fox, which later I get some training under him. And then I was just like seeing what would be the best fit for me. So Robert Gibson, I trained under him starting in October of 2018. And I guess he helped me rebuild myself from the ground up, just getting like the kinks out of the basics and making sure that everything's fine tuned. And then I trained under him for maybe like 6 or 7 sessions throughout those 3 months, just because I wanted to get acclimated with school. And so in January of 19, after like going through that first quarter of school, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go over to All Pro Championship Wrestling. That was Robert Gibson's school that he ran. And when I went over there, I was going to be security, do whatever. So the first thing, one of the few top rules of the business is make sure you have your gear on you. So I had my gear on me. It wasn't the best gear. I'll send you some pictures later. It was awful. But I stuck out like a sore thumb. And as I showed up, someone called out, and Robert was asking where I was. And this was like during the first match. And as I came to the back, they were telling me to get my stuff on, that I was getting ready to go out. So as a replacement, I was in the semi-main for the tag team championship belts. Unfortunately, I lost that one. And then they decided to throw me into the fire. They're like, okay, you're going to be on the card now. So your match next month is going to be another semi-main for the tag team titles. And this was like a coincidence. My tag partner during that show, he ended up getting sick. My opponent's tag partner, he ended up, I think there was like a death in the family. So it ended up being a singles match for the tag team titles. And like a lot of my friends from school came out. And then after I had that match, I came to the back, and I like you have those aha moments. And like that moment, I just like broke down and cried because of like the support and the love that, and like, you know, how much that I've like the love that I've had for this from just watching it at the age of 5 all the way up till now. It's just like the love of it. It's more than love. And it's such a passion. It's like a I'd say a healthy passion. Sometimes it can be unhealthy, but it's, you know, it's something that I hold dear to my heart. And Robert came to the back. He's like, great job, kid. And, you know, he hugged me, and it was just in that moment, I was like, this is something that I can do for the rest of my life. And so and then I guess there's more to the story, but that's just how Landon Hale started out.
That's so awesome, man. And it's interesting. And, you know, this is why I like doing these podcasts, because you like learn a lot as you talk to people or whatever. And then like how every state is completely different. Like you said, you were, you know, were in Kentucky and you had to have a license to be a wrestler. And where here I am in New York, you don't need that, you know, but then we have the sports commission here in New York, you know, so it's wild, like all the different states, you know, some of them need license, some don't, you know, so it's an interesting story.
Yeah, and last night too, funny enough, and I know we'll touch base on this later, but I wrestled for Chaotic last night, and I had I had to get a New Hampshire license, which that was taken care of. And so it's like New Hampshire, you have to have a license. Mm-hmm. Kentucky, everyone has different protocols, but it's like Kentucky, you have to have it's like $25. It's like $20 or $25. Like you have to fill out the application, and then if it's your first time, you have to do a physical. And then you don't have to worry about doing a physical every single year. You just have to do the application and the $25, and then you just have to renew whenever you're like 40 or something like that. So,
wow,
really weird.
Interesting.
It's a weird thing.
It's you know, we keep learning as we go in wrestling. And again, like, you know, you're the wrestler, I'm the podcaster, and the things that like I know, and then there's a lot of things I still don't know, you know, which is interesting, and even like the fans out there. So it is very interesting, but we have fans that listen into this podcast that want to get into wrestling wherever they are, or they're starting to train. And, you know, these are things that, you know, they need to know about the world of wrestling. So thank you for that. Let me give some love into this chat. Captain Dave, what's going on? How are you? Good Cop Bad Cop said the V with the nails facing outward is, you know, F off. He goes, the V with the palms outside is peace sign to a Brit anyway. Couldn't see the whole hand gesture with the bottom of the screen blocking fingers. He goes, I know he didn't mean. I love it. Fury, what's going on? Thanks for coming by. Much love to you. So let's talk a little bit about this, because that's great too. So you moved from Kentucky, you know, now you're in Massachusetts, which is so awesome. So was the main reason because of the fact that the New England scene's so hot? Like, was that the main reason why you came up?
Well, it's a little bit of like, I guess there's two reasons. Yeah. So one of them, yeah, it's definitely, I know that there's it's definitely a hotbed in the Northeast, because I know that the Southeast they're starting to pick up some momentum, and I'm really happy for them. And I mean, like, love me or hate me, I'm always gonna be a Southeast first guy, and that's because they took me. Obviously, you've got to be where you're grown. Like, you know, if you moved from, like, like people that move in from New York or New Jersey, they move down to the South, they're always going to represent who they represent. So it's
Exactly.
all about like, and I'm a nice guy at the end of the day. So, I mean, I'm not going to like shit on the Northeast or anything like that, because I know they have a lot of talent.
Right.
So moving up, that was kind of one of the things. But the main reason was my wife. She's actually from Massachusetts. So after we got finished with school, we ended up getting married, and then we talked about it beforehand, and she loves the area so much. And I guess with my area of Kentucky, there's not a lot that you can actually go off of when it comes to like, I'm not saying that like you can't live there. Like, I mean, it's a beautiful place, and I'm not dissing on it because I'm always a homegrown boy till the day I die. But just like opportunities for growth and just to, you know, push myself to be like a different version of myself, to better myself. And I know that there's a lot of opportunity in the Northeast when it both comes to like my personal career and wrestling. So it kind of works both ways, but mostly it's for my wife, and she loves being back up here, and I actually like the area a lot. So I'm excited.
I love the Northeast. Like now I've been coming up, everybody that's been like following but has seen that like I've been coming up north now. Like I've been I mean, obviously I've been in New York, and everybody's like, oh, you have like the hotbed of wrestling. And I'm like, not really. I was like, I kind of venture to Jersey all the time because you have the sports commission here, and that ruins a lot of things in New York, you know, for not saying that there's not good promotions, because there are good promotions, but I guess maybe also what I'm intrigued with makes me want to travel outside of New York and start seeing things, whether it's deathmatch wrestling or, you know, again, like you said, like the Northeast is hot, and like there's a lot of promotions, which, you know, like we're gonna talk about. So but yeah, so definitely if you're not checking out the New England scene, check out the New England scene. You know, it's really worth it. So actually have a fan tweet here from Dom. Dom says, is there a big difference between North and South when it comes to wrestling?
So I feel like the North, and I mean, it differs in, how to explain. So you're gonna have the North being more of like fast paced, more of like the TV style version. And this is just me, and I'm sure there's people that can disagree on that, but I feel like it's more of like a TV version up in the North because it's fast paced, it's very character based. Whereas the South, it's very like, how to explain. We try to make it like a fast pace as well, but we're mostly like the real slow down type of wrestling, to where it's like let everything register when it comes to like, you know, the selling, telling the story, getting like more of the fans involved, and, you know, just taking your time with it. Because like, I don't think the North rushes anything, because everything that you do, it's like slow is smooth and smooth is fast. It's like that saying. So it's like the North, I realize that everything's like bing, bang, boom, but everything's so crisp. Whereas the South is like, some people may not go at that speed, so we just go to whatever speed people can go, but we make it work to what we can. But you're going to have a little bit of both in the South and a little bit of both in the North. But if we're making like a comparison between the North and the South, with it being the majority, the South's more of like a slower style, to where it's, you know, psychology wise, and, you know, making sure that like all the fans are involved, at least trying to get the fans involved. Like where it's not so much of like high spots that's going to get the fans to, you know, be like, oh my gosh. Whereas the North, it may be more of like high spots, or maybe like deathmatch stuff. Right. So that's kind of like the difference in my eyes, which everyone may have their own opinions. And if someone has a different opinion and I'm wrong, you know, please correct me on that. But that's just from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, look, right, it's like the stereotypical, like, I'm the New Yorker, right, so everything's fast, and like everything's fast paced for me, right, so then when I start going outside of New York, it's kind of like, oh god, like, I'm not used to this, like, you know, but even still, because I hear it all the time. So you know, our friend Cody, shout out to Cody, you know, like we talk about ESW and like the fan base and like the things that they like, and I forgot there was like another promotion we were talking about that they like their you know, their big characters and like their gimmicks and stuff like that, right? Like, so it's really, as what I say about wrestling, it's whatever you like, so that, you know, whatever you're into. If you're into deathmatch wrestling, follow deathmatch wrestling. You're into like the gimmicks, go for the gimmicks. Like there's a lot.
Yeah, and then you will also know too, like whenever you go to these different promotions, you'll see like the style. So like it's like when you go in, the first thing you'll notice is like if they're fast paced, if they're very spotty. Then you'll notice other places in the Northeast that if you go to a place where it's like they want, like the crowd wants to be involved, like they couldn't care if you did a 630 moonsault, spin-a-rooney, drop kick, right, finger poke of doom, elbow drop. Yeah, like they just want to be involved. So right, it's just one of those things. So.
Yeah, I love that though. I definitely love that. Okay, so I obviously, like I know your work, and like I've seen you in person, obviously. So, but for that fan that's listening to this podcast, never saw you wrestle before, what is the go-to match that they should check out of yours to make an instant fan?
Okay, so I have three top matches. I have the Future Showcase, and the Future Showcase is a tournament that's held in the Southeast, which is held in Chattanooga, and it's like a smaller tournament of the Scenic City Invitational. And the Scenic City Invitational, if people don't know who that is, it's a 16-man tournament where they bring the best in the country, best in the world to come wrestle. So I was fortunate enough to be involved in the Future Showcase, and this is for people that have been wrestling 5 years and under, and it's a triple threat tournament. So I was in a triple threat match with Eli Knight and Whisper. That's a good match to watch. I was also in the Southeast first match, and that's the show that AC Mack won the IWTV title off of Alex Shelley, and that was me and Eli Knight. You can also see that on YouTube. And then the third one, it was my debut at Paradigm Pro, and that match was with me versus Jade Newman, which Jaden, Eli, Whisper, all amazing top talent people. Like, they're amazing. And so if you wanna be a fan, and you want to see like the stuff that I do and just to quickly become a fan, those would be the three matches that I would watch.
Awesome. So actually, I have a match that I want to talk about now, because like this one, I think this is like kind of where like I first saw you. So it was PPW, which we love PPW around here, with your match with Cole Radrick, who people are familiar with. Obviously, he's tearing house all over the place. Cole Radrick's been on this podcast. Love him very much. So he's making waves, So talk to us a little bit working with him, and now, like, is it a little crazy now? Like, now he's dabbing into deathmatch wrestling too, which is insane, like, and the fans are all for it. So tell us a little bit.
It's awesome. So funny enough, the match that I had at PPW with Jaden, that was technically the match that I was supposed to have with Cole in the first place.
Okay.
So he ended up not showing up because he had COVID. So it happened to be a quick replacement. So you fast forward 2 months later, and the promoter's like, okay, we're definitely gonna get you that match with Cole. And so I had that match with Cole. So it was like before, like I met him. I've never met him before. One of the sweetest guys I've ever met, and he's so freaking talented. He's one of the nicest dudes that you'll ever meet, and he's so loved by so many people. And so I'm excited to see him get to where he's at right now. And hell, like, I thought that he was at like a far stage in his life with wrestling. So in the fact that he's doing deathmatch wrestling, kudos to him.
Yeah.
And like talking to him about the match, and so like I knew that Cole was going to win during that match, and it was like a face bout, but he wanted to be more of the aggressor, and that was his territory, and I'm like, what, absolutely, but I want to show you that, because like 2021 was like a year of opportunity. So like I had a lot of good opportunities to like, I was fortunate enough to go backstage for Impact and do some Impact stuff. I was fortunate enough to wrestle or tag team with Rhino, a guy that I've watched growing up. I was able to, wrestle MLW's top finest, Richard Holiday. And, 2022, I want that to be a year of respect, because it seems like just because I'm a nice guy doesn't mean that I don't want you, like, doesn't mean that you're going to walk all over me.
Right.
So like me and Cole, we had a hell of a match. And at the end of it, Cole ended up winning. And then at the end of it, he ended up saying a nice word, saying that I was a great wrestler. And that will always, touch my heart, because there are days that I'm always down on myself. And, like, that wasn't planned at all. None of that towards the end was planned. But the fact that he said that speaks volumes. And not only does it know that, like, it solidifies me to like doing something great later on in wrestling, but it just shows like the professional that Cole is, and he's such a good guy, and I love him to death. And shout out to him big time, and I'm so happy and so proud of him for what he's doing.
Yeah, no, shout out to him. He's so great. Like, he's so good. So, man, so let's go crazy there, because of the fact that he's dabbing into deathmatch wrestling. Is this a possibility that maybe you would ever think about, even if it's one match?
No. Nope. Nope.
I have to ask these questions, like.
No. Okay. I will say this though, because with my profession, and like I don't mind saying that I'm a chiropractor, but with my profession, I it's for me, like I want to make sure that I look professional with everything that I do, and like I don't like the thing is with me is that like I don't need to have, and I'm not like dissing on anybody just because like death match is an art.
It is.
Death match, they put their bodies on the line. So whenever I say this, I'm not meaning any disrespect, or I don't mean any disrespect. And if you think that way, I apologize. But I don't want to use death match wrestling as the way to get myself over.
Yeah, gotcha.
And so like I want to be able to use like to utilize my move sets, my character, my story, like who I am. And I mean, like, if there is a death match and if it's at the right place, right time, and, you know, everything else beyond that, you know, I may be down for it.
Right.
And it may be that one time. But as of right now, no.
Yeah. No, I get it. Hey, you know, like I said, I asked it because, you know, like Cole Radjic, we're just talking about it. You never know. Like a lot of people, they talk about it. And maybe it's something that they would consider doing down the line. Maybe it's just like hardcore. Maybe not. And that's perfectly fine. You know, it's not for everybody.
And like I said too, like back when I was like watching like WWE and TNA, and this was like, you know, like the growing up of like YouTube and when it was starting to get popular, and I would watch death matches like crazy.
Yeah.
But it's something, and so like I have so much respect for those guys. I mean, there's no way that I could, you know, have some light tubes hit over my head, but you know, I do respect the guys that do it. So again, I respect the deathmatch wrestlers, so I don't want anyone to think any different on this podcast. But
much love to all those people. Much love
to all those guys. Yeah, but no, I can't do that though.
Lisa's in the chat screaming, "No, don't worry, no deathmatch wrestling, no deathmatch wrestling."
Thank you. Yes, no.
I just asked because I have to ask. So, anyway, let's move on. Let's talk Wrestling Open. Obviously, like I am in love with Wrestling Open. It's one of my favorite promotions going on, you know, so it's just awesome. Let's talk, you know, Pedro, let's talk Ray Jazz. Let's talk about some of your, you know, your favorite experience working, you know, at Wrestling Open.
Yeah. So again, and this was before. So like I had the chance to like once when I moved up to the north, you know, there's some places I'm gonna have to show face. There's some places I'm gonna have to, you know, kind of start from square one. And I knew that from the get go, and that's totally fine. And so I moved up here in I guess like late March, early April. And I showed up to a few Wrestling Open shows just to help, you know, show up, show face, help out with if needed, and then just to like get acclimated with everyone, get introduced. And then I was very fortunate enough that once I had the chance, and you know, like after I got married and then you know moved everything back up, that I had the chance to work with Ray. I had the chance to work with Ray. He was a good guy to wrestle. And then that next week I had the chance to work with Pedro, and that was a fun experience. And just like the atmosphere itself, because there's some places where I don't expect everyone to know who I am, because again, it's like you watch, like the North doesn't watch a lot of the stuff in the South unless it's like, you know, circled around like the IWTV championship, or like if it's on that show, just seeing who's going to change hands. But I think a lot of people knows the name Landon Hale, but they haven't seen a lot of my work. So when I go to these new places, and you know, again, I'm not a name yet. So it's one of those where people will see me and they're like, oh, who's this guy that's just yelling? But then like they see me in the ring, they're like, oh, okay, I get it now. And so I guess the first time that I wrestled for Wrestling Open, it was kind of an awkward moment because funny enough, the sound guy forgot my song. So I just came out to a random song. Luckily, it was a good song, but then he fixed it the next week, so we're good there. No heat. and then so I came out, and everyone was just like, "Oh yeah, like we'll support this guy." But then the next week, it seemed like the fire was there again, which was really cool. So everyone was behind me, and so yeah, Wrestling Open is definitely a different atmosphere, and you know I'm hoping to come back soon enough. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it's so great. I talk about it all the time that like Wrestling Open is purposely designed to kind of, you know, learn about new talent. And I talk about it all the time. And like I've been bringing on a lot of people that have been on Wrestling Open, as people see. I mean, I found Miracle Generation on Wrestling Open. I didn't know who they were until I found them on you know, Wrestling Open. Now they're like one of my favorite tag teams going on, and I love those guys, you know. So I tell everybody, and I'm going to push it constantly, is that you should be checking out Wrestling Open to learn about a lot of the new talent. Me, fortunately, a lot of the people that come, I know for a long time. So it's really exciting to see the mix of wrestling going on between, like, if somebody's from Jersey, you know, wrestling somebody from Kentucky, or like wrestling somebody from like Maine or something, which it's really neat. It's really cool to see. So definitely check that out. So, all right, let's talk chaotic wrestling, because like I love chaotic wrestling. Everybody knows that too. You guys see, like, I'm backstage also. If you guys are watching those Indie Talks episodes, check those out as well. So that was the first time that I got to see you live. Clearly, like I said, like I've seen you before, but to get to see you live. And when I came up to you, the first thing I said to you was that I was like, you were so clean in the ring. And I know that's probably like one of the most weirdest things that I say, like that's one thing about me, is that like I see certain things with certain people. And that was like one of the things that like just like, you know, transitioning out of moves and things like that is so clean. So I wanted to tell you that, because I'm sure like that's not something that a lot of people maybe say to somebody, you know, but
and it's not, and I appreciate that too.
Yeah.
I think it's like the first time someone said that I look clean in the ring.
Yeah.
So I mean, I did shave up before the match. I was like, man, like, I mean, I did shave. I don't know. I didn't know that's what you were meaning. I was like, yeah, like I would clean shave before my match. But no, I really appreciate that, though. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that definitely, like, it's just insane. Like I said, there's just certain things with certain people that just like stick out to me, and like, you know, so that's just me. But anyway, so Boston Brawl was fun, and you know, I've had a bunch of people on to, I mean, being Brad, Cashew were just talking about Boston Brawl last week. If you guys didn't check out that interview, please go watch that interview. So we went very detailed into Boston Brawl, you know, so great. If you didn't watch it, it's on Twitch. Check it out. And you were in the 7-way scramble. So talk to us about, you know, chaotic, you know, talk to us about the scramble, and then we could also talk about yesterday, which I didn't get to watch yet because I've been busy all day. So I promise I will watch yesterday's show, because you were on it too. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I first got started off with chaotic, and this was so again, my wife, she's from the Massachusetts area, so when we'd go up during our summer breaks, 2 years ago, whenever I came up, COVID hit, and they said they weren't doing any training for then, and then I think fall break came around, and we came up here again, and they were doing light classes, so I had the chance to, you know, to talk with Chase, and, you know, to like get into the classes, and, you know, like just, you know, meet people like Becca and Ricky Smokes and those guys. And we had the chance to, like, you know, like sit down and talk. We had the chance to like get in the ring and, you know, train and stuff like that. And I guess last year in June, I actually made my chaotic debut at Tewksbury against Love Doug, which we were the opener match, which was awesome. And Love Doug's a great guy too. And also shout out to him. Hope and pray that his ankle heals up as soon as he can, so that way he can show some more love in the ring. But back to chaotic. So with all of that, like he knew that I was moving up here once everything was taken care of, and so they brought me in as one of their own, and so it was really nice. The 7-man scramble, it was nice. It was different. I think I've been in. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think I've been in a scramble before. I think that may be my first scramble.
Wow.
I think now, because I'm trying to like think in my head of like, because it's always been like tag matches, like multi-man tag matches, triple threats. I think this is my first ever. Yeah, this is my first ever scramble. So with this being my first ever scramble, it was nice. Yeah, like it was all over the place. But no, like everyone that was in there, because some of them were like students that were still coming up, and then the rest you have like All Barquet and Paris Bondale and Randy Rivera. I mean, like everyone tore the house down. So I was very thankful to be a part of that group for that scramble.
Oh, so good. I say that about, you know, chaotic. I was like the talent that's in chaotic's incredible. You know, so I've been pushing that too, because I'm like, people need to get on the chaotic train, because it's really good. And the New England school is just producing like great talent, you know, which I got to visit. I was very excited that I got to visit the New England school. So really, really cool, really nice school. But yeah, shout out to Love Doug. I saw Love Doug yesterday on his little scooter at Beyond.
His scooter.
I love him so much.
Love Doug's the best. He's one of the funniest dudes ever. He's so kind too. I just hate that, you know, all of that happened to him. So yeah, he's in my thoughts and prayers, and I hope that he gets back in the ring soon. So scoot away, scoot for love, I guess.
I love it. Okay, so Den's in the chat. He goes, "What is your pre-match meal and post-match meal?" Ooh, I like that question.
Ooh, I like that too. Pre-match meal. I rarely have one just because I get angsty, like I get like nervous before my match. But usually my pre-match meal, it may consist of like a pre-workout drink, so it may be like a C4 or a Bang energy drink, like typical wrestlers. Uh, and then sometimes it may be like it may be like a protein shake, and then post workout or post match, it'll probably be a protein shake, or if I have some meals prepped, it'll just be like ground beef and maybe some like rice and veggies, and then maybe a protein shake after that, or like a protein bar. So that's usually my post match meal, I guess.
Oh, so you didn't have the meatballs after at the Boston Brawl?
No, I didn't.
they they had all these meatball subs that was donated at the Boston Brawl.
They had a lot of them, but I think how many? I think they were almost out. And I was like, you know what? Like I just need something light on my stomach because I had food at the house. So
Yeah.
it's like I'm just gonna eat some popcorn because like I'm trying
Yeah.
to be on like a better diet for myself, even though like sometimes I'll have some like cheat meals or like cheat little snacks, but I'm
Yeah.
trying my best to be better at my meals and stuff like that. So I just had some popcorn and just I'll just have some of that and then head off from there and just get something at the house.
Okay, all right, that's good. It was funny because I was gonna ask, one of my questions was gonna be like a road trip snack. So like you're heading to wrestling or you're heading back from wrestling. Like what's the snack?
Yeah, for me, so like I have a big sweet tooth. So for me, it's if it's anything chocolate or anything like Skittles, like I'm game for. And then so like I'll usually have like I'm a very basic person. I'm gonna sound like the most unhealthiest person ever, but like I'll either have like Pringles, like the small can of like barbecue Pringles. Those are my favorite. Cookies and cream Twix. Those are my favorite. Like Twix. That's like my favorite candy bar right now. Or I don't. Would you consider that a candy? Yeah, you consider that a candy bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cookies and cream Twix, and then like I'll usually save the energy drink for a little bit later, but then I'll have like water with me, and so that's usually my snack going up the road, I guess.
See, we gotta get you sponsored, like maybe by Twix or something. Then we'll get you a little patch. We'll put it on your gear, so you can support the Twix.
Yes, that would be awesome. I would love that actually.
You never know. Here, Twix, come on, sponsor him. Like he'll put the patches on the gear. Do some cool moves.
God, that would be funny though.
Yeah,
That
it would be.
cool.
Hey, listen, I was trying to get somebody sponsored by Sheets for a while, so we're gonna try Twix now. So,
Jeez.
you never know. I see a lot of those
See-
wrestlers sponsored.
My thing is, and this goes back to the sheet since you mentioned that, I'm a fan of Wawa. Don't hurt me,
Yes,
but I'm
I love you even more now. Like,
Wawa's the goat.
see. So I'm just sticking my tongue out at all the wrestlers that give me crap that I like Wawa. So haha.
Wawa's amazing. Like we'll stop there through Pennsylvania whenever we're heading home, or like whenever we're on our trips. We're like my wife's like, okay, if we see a Wawa, don't care where we're at on the trip, we're stopping. And we stop, and then we'll get some we'll get like cappuccino drinks or like coffee drinks. We'll get whatever sandwiches are there. So it's amazing. Wawa over Sheets any day. I'm doing this, and this isn't flipping off the bridge, people, but Wawa over Sheets every day.
I love it. So to all ya people upstate like Mike Skyros and like TJ Epics. Sorry, like
Yes, haha.
more Wawa fans. I need it in my life. So, but all right.
Yes.
So we have a fan tweet from Good Cop Bad Cop. So he said, with Landon Hale being an anagram of handle loan, which wrestler would you most trust in giving your own money to, knowing they would pay you back in full?
If any wrestler, if we're going off character, CPA, taxes,
There you
stuff,
go.
but no, out of anyone, like right now, I would trust my heart and soul with Aaron Rourke, because outside of wrestling, like in the ring, he's the baddest diva queen, etc. Like everything that he is, but no, outside the ring, he's one of the most trustworthy people, and I consider him a brother. And he's one of those people that he took me in as one of his family and one of his friends. And literally, like the first 2 weekends that we were here, we ended up going out to like a bar just to just to hang out and get to know each other. And then like ever since then, he's like, dude, I got your back any day. Like he's never done me wrong, and that's a dude that you want to have in your corner.
Yeah.
Him, and I would probably even go along the lines of saying Alec Price as well. Yeah, because like I know like when it comes to the wrestling side of things, obviously we all have our storylines of, you know, who we're going up against, and you know, like we want to be able to beat the top dog. But Alec Price is one of the greatest dudes that you'll ever meet. So
Yeah.
definitely him and Aaron Ward for sure.
Good people, and people that I've had on
Great
this
people.
podcast. So check out those interviews too if you haven't. So
Oh yeah, they're
good
wonderful
people.
people. And shout out to them too.
yeah, I just saw Alec yesterday at Beyond, and I felt bad because he was hopping around because he like hurt his knee or his leg during his
Jeez.
match, and I walked over to him. I'm like, "You good?" And then he like hopped over and like hugged me, and I'm like, he's like, "Yeah, I'll be good." And I'm like, "Oh wait." I was like, the stuff you guys do to entertain us, like, I appreciate it. Like, I tell you guys all the time, like, I appreciate what you put your bodies through because I could never do it. So thank you for everything that you do. So.
No problem. Thank you for coming out and watching and supporting, and let me be on your podcast.
Always. I got you guys. All right. So let's put it out there because I like, you never know what could happen, right? So is there anybody that has caught your eye that you want to get into the ring with?
Alec Price, Aaron Rourke. Man, you're putting me on the spot here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. Yeah, so Alec Price, Aaron Rourke, Ricky Smokes, Gal Barquet. I'm trying to think like some people from Wrestling Open, because there's like either member of the Miracle Generation, Ichiban. I've already wrestled Channing Thomas, which I wouldn't mind going at it with him again. Teddy Goods, Lil Mean Kathleen, Becca, Allie Catch, Effie. There's just a lot of people that I'd like to get in the ring with. Manders, Max Caster, Marcus Mathers, Billy Starks, Robert Martyr. There's just,
Yeah.
I mean, I could
Endless.
go on and
It's endless.
endless names, endless.
Well, it's nice because I feel like this could happen, especially now that it's like now you're here.
Max Smash Master. Just like broadcast you.
Yes.
And I purposely didn't do the British accent because I realized that we have a British fan on here, but that was my bad. I should have done a different accent. But no, like there's a lot of people in the north, like now you're saying Northeast or just in general?
Just in general.
Yeah, I mean, also have like top like bigger name matches that I would like to get in the ring with, like Nick Wayne,
Yeah.
Will Ospreay, Bandito, Amazing Red. There's just a lot of people that like I can name that I think would be a dream match, like Myron Reed.
Yeah.
There's just there's a lot of people that I can mention. It's an endless, but those are just to name a few, I guess.
Yeah.
JT Dunn being one of them too. Yeah, I'd like to get in the ring with him.
Yeah.
I think we'd put on a good show for sure.
Oh,
Yeah, he's
man.
definitely someone that's caught my eye a lot.
I love it. Can you tell like that he's the perfect person on this podcast? Because pretty much everybody that he's like brought up either has been on this podcast or I'm a massive fan of. So so that's the nice thing about you like moving up to New England, because now you're gonna get like a lot of possibilities within the future. So which is great.
I hope so.
Ennels, and I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. I'm bad with names. Ennel, he says Hailstorm. Let's see. Good Cop, Bad Cop says, good cop with the positivity question. Woohoo. He goes, you got it, Dash. Well, thank you for coming in. I love it. He said we'll finish watching the podcast later. Well, thank you for your question and having fun with us. So, all right. Do you have any pre-match rituals?
I don't. Well, so before I go out, I pray. I'm a firm believer in God, so I go out there and I pray. And then like sometimes with my I guess like with anyone that's around, I want to pray with them. So if there's anyone that they want to have a prayer, I'm more than welcome to pray with them. I usually just pray. I just get myself psyched up. I do like a few jumps. I just kind of like, I would say like, not even like I was just kind of like, how like you get pumped up before a game. Like I know Alec, apparently he does his stuff where he just like, he hits himself and he's like, but like there's moments where like I'll just jump up and down and I have like internal energy and like I want to be able to use it in the ring. So I just like hype myself up. So I just jump up and down a few times. I stretch. I like do some dynamic stretches, pray, and then I usually go out and then I just here I am.
Oh yeah, Alec Price. He's crazy with his hype His hype man. I love it. I love it though.
Yeah, me too. I love it though. In person, it's something. I was like, the first time I saw it, I was like, geez, do I need to call an ambulance? Is he about to have a stroke? But no, I love it though.
Actually, another person that I was thinking of, like, that needs to get into the ring with you, that I need personally, is TJ Crawford. So, like, he needs
Yes.
to get his ass back in the ring more sooner than later. And you guys need to get into the ring and wrestle, because I'm here for it, because I think you guys would have a really solid match. So,
Oh, absolutely.
love to TJ Crawford. So much love for him. So, all right, let's do a fun podcast question that's very dear to my heart, especially we kind of need it with all the negativity that's going on social media today. So, wrestling with positivity, very dear to my heart. So, is there anything that you can share with us, whether something you've done for a wrestler, maybe a wrestler's done for you, maybe a fan's done for you, maybe something you've done for a fan, anything that we wouldn't really know about unless you tell us?
See, I mean, like, I don't. Man, you did stump me on that. Sorry, no. So there's a promotion in Savannah, Georgia called Coastal Empire Wrestling, and they just started up back in it was like late 2020. Oh, wait, was it late 2020? Yeah, late 2020, and it was like their second show that they've ever had. And there's some people from the Savannah area that they've never experienced wrestling before. And like, I mean, obviously like with like WWE, but like independent wrestling. Mm-hmm. So it was at a brewery, and some people, like, they all showed up. And like, sometimes like if I had shirts that I was able to give out, like I would give a shirt out to a fan, and just depending on who would cheer the most and all that stuff. So I remember seeing a fan that, like, just a little kid, and like I gave him my shirt. And then after the match ended, and it was intermission, they came up to me and they're like, "Oh, this is like their first ever. This was our first ever wrestling show. Like, he's never been to a wrestling match before, and you're his first ever favorite wrestler." And like, it melted my heart. And then he messaged me after, and he's like, he slept in his shirt tonight. He slept in your shirt tonight. So I was like, that means the world to me. So just stuff like that melts my heart. So.
Aw, I love that. I love that. That's what it's all about. Like, I love hearing those stories. I have a lot of friends, where they have kids with disabilities. So like the way that the wrestlers treat them and stuff like that, and I watch it all the time. And that's why I bring this to light, because I feel like these moments are very important and they need to be shared. So thank you for sharing that. I love that very much.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what are some of your goals for 2022?
So some of my goals for 2022 is to be on more platforms, or like to be on different promotions in the Northeast. Be involved in some more tournaments. I think that'd be cool. Like, I've only been involved in the Future Showcase tournament, so I think it'd be cool to see where I stand with the top professional wrestlers. I would like to wrestle. I know Paradigm is considered a Midwest territory like promotion, but I'd like to wrestle out there more. I definitely would like to debut in the Northwest, like the Pacific Northwest, so like Washington and Oregon and California, those areas. What are some other goals? I would say, wrestle in New York and New Jersey, but I already did that, so that I could cross that off my bucket list. I would like to wrestle in England and Japan sometime soon, which that would be cool. I mean, I know, like, my real life job compared to, my wrestling career, it may be on a halt for a little bit, just depending, but those are some goals of mine. And that's about it. I mean, like, I really don't have any plans on like wanting to get signed as soon as I can. I mean, if the opportunity comes, it's more negotiating, but I feel like if I keep rushing the process, I'm not going to get anywhere. So I'm just going to enjoy whatever flow hits me. So just debuts and wrestling the best top talent that not only the Northeast, but the United States and world has to offer me. So just a simple list, I guess.
That's why people need to book him, okay? Like, putting it out there. Book him.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So I got one final question for you. And if anybody else has any questions, please feel free. Drop it into the chat. So we, again, like I said earlier, there's a lot of people that listen to this podcast, whether they started training or whether they're thinking about getting into wrestling. What's a piece of advice that you would give them?
Make sure that you have some sort of financial backing. Make sure that you have make sure you have a plan B. And you hear a lot of people say, make sure you have something else, because wrestling may not be that for you. And that is the truest thing, because again, in my life and where I'm at in my profession, I'm very thankful to have what I have going with me right now, because I am a chiropractor. I don't mind saying that, but yeah, I'm a chiropractor. And it's one of those things where I was fortunate enough to be in school and to have that help along with wrestling. There's people that they were, like they try to go just straight for wrestling, and then from there, like it ends up going downhill. Make sure you have like a financial backing. Make sure you have like a degree in some sort of like, and just in anything that's going to help you get through something. So like people, like with wrestlers, like we work weekdays jobs unless it's, you wrestle enough to actually pay the bills, but definitely have some sort of a backup plan until wrestling can start paying the bills. So definitely have that educational background, or some sort of secondary education where you're able to take care of yourself throughout the weeks. So that way you're able to do stuff on the weekends. So like for me, I'm very fortunate enough that I get to work throughout the week, as something that I like to do is, be a chiropractor, and then on the weekends being able to travel and to wrestle. So definitely have that in your back pocket, because you don't want to go in head first without having anything to back you up, and then it's just all downhill from there. So that's my only advice.
I think it's great advice, because I remember being at one of the H2O center, and Brandon Kirk was teaching a class, and he was telling the kids, learn a trade. He's like, if you don't want to go to college, learn a trade. He was like, because if something, God forbid, happens and you can't wrestle anymore, at least you have a trade, to do as a background. So I think that's very important and great advice. So
Exactly.
Yeah, so I know like there are some things that you have coming up. Some stuff's not announced yet. So
Nope.
we're going to tell everybody to follow you on all the socials so that they can continue to when it is announced. So tell everybody where that they can follow you.
Okay, so you can follow me and this is one of those things I like to halt before I say it. So like my real name and my wrestling name are the same. It's Landon Hale, but I do have a fine line when it comes to like, being nice to fans and being there for fans, but also if you don't mind letting me live my personal life. So I do have a fan page where you can type in Landon Hale, go to the fan page, hit that like button. That would be deeply appreciated. But yes, I have a fan page on Facebook. Then I have Instagram, it's Landon Hale 3. I have Twitter, and I use that a lot, and that's at HaleYa3. And then I have a YouTube channel. You can type in youtube.com/Landon Hale. And I also have merchandise at prowrestlingtees.com/Landon Hale as well.
Awesome. All those links are in the description below, so you can just click. I got you guys covered there pretty much. But yeah, so that was so fun. I'm glad that you got to come on and chat with us a little bit. I'm hoping that I can come up to like Chaotic or Wrestling Open soon to come see you. Hopefully we'll see you sooner, like more closer to me, because gas is getting expensive.
Gas is higher than Snoop Dogg. I hate it.
It's terrible, and especially now that like I've been like doing all this driving, because like Massachusetts is at least 3 hours from me. So yeah, so I'm that dedicated fan that likes to come up and see some good wrestling. So
Exactly, and we love you for that. Thank you so much for the support.
absolutely, always. So I love to support everybody that I can. So, but yeah, so I think we covered everything. Is there anything else that we want to talk about before we wrap up?
I mean, I think that's it. I think that's it. I'm trying to think like the highs of everything. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, so everything.
Awesome.
So like I do have future dates set in mind, but I don't want to advertise it until it gets advertised itself. So if you do want to see and follow where I'm going to be wrestling at next, definitely follow me, subscribe, whatever, to see where I'm at next.
Absolutely. So give him some love, give him some support. So as you guys know, I like putting on people that I back onto this podcast. So definitely check him out. Again, such Chaotic, Wrestling Open. There's so much stuff. Go on YouTube, go on IWTV, all that fun stuff. So type in his name and you'll find a whole bunch of matches. So Landon, thank you so much for coming on here and chatting with us a little bit. That's gonna be our running joke now. Like every time
It's gonna be a running joke every single time.
Shout out to Good Cop, Bad Cop. So I'll make sure that when I come up to Chaotic and I'm backstage, that like I'll get you for like a backstage interview, and we'll just do that the entire interview.
Yes, we'll catch a boomerang of us doing this. And
Yeah,
just
we'll
tag
do
good cop,
we'll do
bad
a
cop.
photo, and then like we'll do like one of the like my indie talk episodes that we do that too, just for good cop,
Yes.
bad cop, just for him. So like, I love it. So, but guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I really appreciate everybody that listened back onto the audio and everything else. Again, much love to you guys. So I will be back next week. I need a little bit of a podcast break, so I just announced Brad Hollister next week. Tomorrow I'm gonna announce somebody else, so for next week too. So make sure you're subscribed and hit that like button, turn that bell on so you can see everything as well, and make sure you're following me on all the social media platforms. So, but you guys know the drill. Stay safe, support independent wrestling, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good night.